So I've been reading a little bit of Seneca, and Seneca is a Stoic, which means he's all about the don't worry about things that you can't control, stuff like that. And he also has a lot of thoughts on excessiveness and materialism. And one of the things that Seneca wrote about was how, that was a B, is how people are too interested in making better stuff that doesn't need to be there. He says that by productizing and creating our properties and stuff like that, we basically threw away this perfect idyllic system that used to exist in the past. He says that by putting a fence around your land, you now, instead of having the entire world as your land, you only have a piece of it. And he also says that stuff only got expensive because everybody started making it better and more fancy and trying to outdo each other. That's the gist of what I was hearing in one of his letters. And he says back in the day, people could just live outside. They could use the skins of rabbits and creatures, or to clothe themselves, to survive, and everything we needed was already there. And I really like Seneca. I think he's got a lot of cool stuff to say, but I don't know about that one, man. I wonder if really truly living that nomadic lifestyle is actually a better situation than they had going on in ancient Rome. Can you really support as much human life that way? I mean, like, I just think that roughing it in the woods and sleeping under the stars, it sounds great, man, but there's parasites out there, there's wild animals, there's other bands of people. And I guess he was coming from a perspective of everybody would just share everything. I don't know if that's true. It just seemed a bit... I'm just curious if there's a historic basis for that. For saying, yeah, life was really great before we started making stuff expensive and better and privatizing. I'm really curious if Seneca's right on that one. But my gut reaction is no. You can't just go live like an animal outside, because we're not really adapted for that stuff. Like, you throw me into the woods with nothing, it's going to be a pretty tough challenge for me to stay alive for more than a couple days. I mean, even surviving a single night in the elements exposed is tricky. You got to go find shelter and then hope that there's no poisonous thing that's going to kill you. But yeah, that kind of ties into a thought that I've been thinking for a little while, which is that a lot of people, or I see a lot of talk online about it's so hard to survive in 2024, everything's so expensive, and that kind of ties into some stuff Henry David Thoreau wrote about in Walden. Like, you don't need that much to survive. I think that Seneca's right about one thing, and that's that we overcomplicate and make things expensive because we create things we don't need. He was talking about how people would buy these expensive moving ceilings to have their ceilings changed during each course of a crazy meal, and it's like, yeah, dude, you don't need that. And a lot of the stuff we buy these days we don't actually need. I think it's not that hard to give yourself the essentials of what you need to live. And sure, like, I'm in America, in a small town where cost of living is pretty low, but I really don't think that the essentials are that hard to obtain in 2024. But I think there's maybe a fine, there's the spectrum. Like Seneca's saying, back before we had all this technology, life was better. I don't think so. But then we need more and more and more and more fancier stuff. I don't think that's true either. I think maybe Henry David Thoreau had it kind of in the right spot between those two extremes. But then again, this isn't a fully fleshed out thought. It's just something I was thinking about, and I'm curious if anybody's got historic records of a time when people didn't really live the way we do now, and maybe it was better. I don't know. I could see the world supporting a smaller population without all of our advancements, and maybe that being a happy way to live. But I mean, there's also disease. Like, what if you get some sort of gout or cancer or something? I mean, you could say it's an idyllic way to live without all the technology we have, but I think that we're able to support a greater number of humans on the planet now. at a higher average quality of life. But who knows? Maybe supporting a greater number of people isn't necessarily what we should strive for. I don't know. I'm just throwing thoughts out there. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about Seneca.